One of the best things about getting around on a bike or by walking is the feeling of moving through the world unencumbered. When it's raining, though, things can get complicated. Fumbling with an umbrella in a windy spring storm can really throw a wrench in that free and easy feeling, and biking can get messy fast. That's why I love Cleverhood so much. Whether I'm striding down a sidewalk in my Urbanaut trench or tootling along in my Rover rain cape, I'm dry and defended against the elements. I especially love the hood part of Cleverhood because that visor is a nice little roof that keeps my glasses dry. If you want to feel safe from whatever the elements have to throw at you, go to cleverhood.com/thewaroncars and enter code PUDDLEJUMPER for 15% off all Cleverhood's great gear. That's cleverhood.com/thewaroncars, code PUDDLEJUMPER. See you on the street.
This is The War on Cars. I'm Doug Gordon. Back in January, we recorded an episode in front of a live audience at Caveat, a comedy theater on Manhattan's Lower East Side. So this was our third time at Caveat, and it was a ton of fun. The show sold out quickly, and we were thrilled to be in the same room as so many listeners and friends. Thank you to everybody who showed up. Speaking of which, a lot of the audience was made up of Patreon supporters, which got early access to discounted tickets. So, if you want a heads up the next time we have a live show and want to support the podcast, go to patreon.com/thewaroncarspod and sign up today. Our guest for the show was Bernie Wagenblast, the voice of the New York City subway system. If you've ever stood on a subway platform and wondered when the next train was going to arrive, Bernie probably told you the answer. She's a New York City icon with an amazing personal story, and we were so glad she was able to join us at Caveat. Enjoy the show.
From New York, it's The War on Cars Live, starring The War on Cars. Tonight, join Doug, Aaron, and Sarah and their guests, comedian Charlie Dektar, and voice of the NYC subways, Bernie Wagenblast. And now, here's The War on Cars!
How's everyone doing?
Hi. Hello.
All right. All right, so you may have guessed we've got a theme tonight, and that is The Tonight Show. We're old, so it's the Carson version, sorry.
Yeah. We debated which theme song people would know in this crowd. We went with Carson, sorry.
Yeah, anyway, it's what we respond to. It's our Pavlovian responses to Carson, so yeah.
But we have a really great show tonight. We have a guest, someone probably everybody here has heard but might not know. Could we play that cue?
There is a local 7 train to Flushing Main Street. Approaching the station, please stand away from the platform edge.
All right, so that's going to be pretty awesome.
It's like a dream guest. I mean, Pete Buttigieg, forget that, Like this is the real stuff.
It's not an AI either. It's going to be a real human guest.
Yeah.
That's an actual person's
First of all,
voice.
we want to just thank everybody for coming. How many of you are Patreon supporters? All right. The rest of you should sign up. But thank you, because a lot of you bought tickets really early on, and all of you bought tickets, and we sold out tonight, so thanks.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
We wanted to call out Josh Wilcox, who is our recording engineer. Is Josh here?
Josh? No Josh?
All right, Josh is fired.
Okay.
Josh won the raffle last time.
Yeah.
That was
Yesenia Moreno. Is
Yesenia?
Yesenia?
Oh, hey. Yesenia
yay.
edits for us.
All right.
Awesome.
Yeah, wonderful.
And I'm also watching on the live stream from Melbourne, Australia, Ali Lemur. Can everyone say hi, Ali?
Hi, Ali.
All right. We did this last year. I think we should do it again. Are there any former guests of the podcast here that we should recognize? Have you been on the show? Oh, Baruch Herzl.
Oh, yes. Our most recent episode. Pop Wheels.
Pop Wheels, if you guys didn't catch that. He does battery swapping. Really cool battery swapping project.
And really, like the episode that Aaron put together with that, it's just like the full rainbow of New York, like people from all over the world with all different things that they think and do, and united by bicycles.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I also want to recognize we have a very special guest here from the Netherlands, Lucas Harms. Are you here? Yeah, Lucas. Lucas is the director, now on sabbatical, of the Dutch Cycling Embassy, which is pretty cool. What do you think about riding a bicycle here?
Yeah, it's of course it's lovely to ride a bicycle in such an iconic city. That's the good part, but there's still a lot to be improved.
The Dutch are very polite.
That's a
Yeah,
compliment.
we're looking.
Very good.
We'll
Very
be getting those
diplomatic.
notes
Yeah.
later. Okay.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
This is kind of, we're running this like a community board meeting a little bit.
It's
We're just getting all the, like,
ultimately
hellos
everything is
out
a
of the
community
way.
board meeting.
It's true.
Yeah, getting all the business out of the way,
Yeah.
recognizing the dignitaries. That's what we did last year. So,
Yeah.
But let us get going. We've got some news we're going to share. Sarah, do you want to start?
Yeah. So, more or fewer SUVs in Paris? What do you think? The people of Paris, registered voters in Paris, this weekend have the opportunity to vote to increase parking fees on SUVs by maybe even triple, and it's part of a whole series of regulatory possibilities that the French are putting into place to disincentivize the creeping influx of American-sized SUVs. And so, I mean, yeah, like, go Paris, because it's so influential what happens in Paris. They've really been on the cutting edge with all this kind of stuff. So that's happening February 4th on Sunday. So, like,
I just
isn't
think
that
the
Sunday?
remarkable thing is they charge for parking in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. They actually
We
enforce it.
can't even do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well-
No. Since 2001, they had a new mayor in 2001, Bertrand Delanoy, who came in talking about, like, I am going to fight the hegemony of the automobile. You know, it's like, can you even imagine an American mayor fighting the hegemony of anything?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
No less the automobile. So I
Yeah.
mean, it's like amazing what they're doing
Yeah,
there.
it's good stuff. So, and if Paris can do it, then we can turn around and say, look, we could do it too.
Yeah. So my my big development in the war on cars comes from Scott Wiener, a state senator in California, in the Bay Area. He's an awesome guy, and he has proposed some legislation that's really kind of a big deal, which is that all of the new cars as of something like 2027 on the street in California will have to have a speed governor built into them. So something that would actually make it so that the vehicle cannot exceed a certain speed limit. So instead of just, a sign being outside of the car and we hope that the driver adheres to that speed limit, the speed limit is essentially built into the car. So what do we think of that?
Well, this is not something that's like a science fiction, impossible to imagine how it could happen, because it actually already kind of exists, right?
This is true. I mean, it does. Like e-scooters have to have.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Don't like the speed
Someone
governor?
doesn't like this?
Anti-speed.
Why don't you like the speed
What?
governor?
It's gonna slow my car down.
Oh. Well, that's the
Okay.
point, right? Because we don't want people zooming through and...
But like,
Anti-car. I'm so anti-car.
Sir, do you understand what show you're at tonight? What do you... Yeah? Okay, we're in a good
Anti-car
mood. Come on up.
fine.
Come on up.
Why not?
It's
This is
true.
totally not a bit that we set up before.
We're very inclusive. We're a very inclusive
All about
show.
free speech.
Yeah, the mic is yours.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. It's a great show, by the way. Give it up for the hosts. It's a great show. I think the show's great. It's just, you make fun of Pete Buttigieg on here, the Secretary of Transportation. You make fun of cars all the time. I think the people here are actually more on my side than they're on your side.
Good luck.
Who here would actually want to see New York more walkable, more bikeable? Like, who would really want that? Like, they would. Some of you scattered around the corners. Some of you, I heard. But who here thinks we could make a little more room for the cars?
Let's hear it for the cars.
Well, it's...
Well, why don't you make your...
Yeah, okay.
Well, yeah,
right,
no,
right.
actually, yeah.
Be more
Okay.
fun for cars.
Yeah, I'll make my... I think I can win people over. I'm feeling it. I have actually brought a piece with me. This is how to make New York City more car-friendly. Here we go. Every year, thousands of pedestrians are injured on crosswalks. We must remove all those crosswalks before anyone else gets hurt. Those people could be drivers just walking to their cars. Thank you.
Damn.
You said I sound like the Department of Transportation. Take that as a compliment. Why do we dedicate entire lanes to bicycles? Would we make lanes for skipping rope? For hopscotch? Lanes dedicated to pugs on skateboards filming viral short video content from GoPros on their collars?
Yes.
Sounds a little silly, I think, Sarah. Climate change can hurt cars just as much as people. We all need to work together to find a solution, and soon. On the Plaza de las Americas in Washington Heights, there is Manhattan's one standalone self-cleaning public restroom. Why is that there? That could be a parking spot. It's too sunny on the road. We need to plant more trees by the street to increase shade coverage. New York is on the verge of implementing the barbaric congestion tax. It's coming this year. Don't cheer for that. Don't cheer for that. Stop them from cheering. They shouldn't be cheering for that. If they want to tax a surplus of cars, they may as well put a tax on too much tenderness, on the laughter of children, on the indomitability of the human spirit. We need more lanes, so we should cut down all the trees that we just planted by the street. When we were young, Mother picked us up and put us in the back seat of the Highlander, and we felt safe and warm while she scraped ice off the windshields. Why doesn't it feel like that anymore? We need bigger cars that make us feel small again. We need more armored cars to make us feel safe again. We need to stay in our cars until we feel that feeling again. We have to feel that feeling again. Thank you, everyone, so much. My Tesla's double parked outside, so I gotta head out. But I really appreciate the time. Best of luck, you guys.
Thank you so much.
Comedian Charlie Dektar. Can we just walk off? Charlie Dektar.
It's a very inclusive podcast.
I think we might have people who work for the Department of Transportation here, because I did hear some pushback on that. So, yeah.
He makes a strong case.
Yeah, we're gonna get to some of that stuff.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
Let's before we were so rudely interrupted by a thing that we set up a week ago. Aaron, the thing is about the speed governor. What I think is really interesting is that there's always like a grace period or like an exception, right, for drivers.
Yep.
Like you can only park here for an hour, but if you're 5 minutes late to your car, the parking meter will not. The meter maid will not ticket you or whatever.
Right.
And the same thing is happening here. It's like you can't exceed the speed limit except by 10 miles an hour.
Yes.
Right? And so this obviously has caused the lunatics at Fox News to go absolutely.
Oh, I can't wait to see what they have to
Let's
say.
bring in
about
the
this.
author of Domestic Extremist, Peachy Keenan. It's great to see you. It's been a while. Haven't seen you. It's great to have you back. I want to put this up on the screen. This is the San Francisco Chronicle. They said this about the speed limit bill we just talked about. Quoting here, the bill is likely to face opposition from the auto industry and California motorists who may view the proposal as a form of state overreach. Really? That's over? Well, come on. They overreach on everything, and they're saying, well, it might be overreach.
Sorry for making me watch Fox News.
Yeah, I mean,
but
pretty soon they're going to have a device that doesn't let your car leave the garage. Unless
right.
you're driving to like a Gavin Newsom fundraiser or Planned Parenthood or anything you're allowed to go to. But if I had one of these devices on my minivan, my kids would be late to school every single day, and I think I speak for a lot of moms. Not that I break the law, but you gotta.
So, a couple things there you missed. Number one, you probably heard it wouldn't let you leave your garage unless you were going to a Gavin Newsom fundraiser or Planned Parenthood.
Or a Taylor Swift
we'll allow
show, maybe.
cars in those situations. And the best part was like, I would be late to school, my kids would be late to school. Not that I break the law. No, lady, you do break the law. You speed. You go over the speed limit. We're not saying you rob a bank. But you speed. You go over
Apparently,
the speed limit.
in a school zone.
Yeah, with your kids. With your kids in the
Yeah,
car.
with her
Send the
kids in the
police,
car.
arrest her on the Fox News headquarters. We got her. Got her
I
dead to
know,
rights.
that's right.
I also love that she's an expert on domestic extremism, and this
Yes.
is what she's on to talk about.
So
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
We are domestic extreme. Do you guys actually think that can the speed governor thing actually happen? It just feels impossible.
There
to me.
needs
like,
to
I
be
love
a,
it
there,
too much.
there needs to be a better name for it because like governor is just already like it's
We just passed congestion pricing. Is there a worse name for a policy than that? I mean, we've made it happen.
good point. Good point.
I mean, I love also the observation of like the auto industry is against this. Yeah, no shit. I mean, come
Exactly.
on. So, I mean, the interesting thing about the auto industry being against this, and the whole idea of this being like an attack on freedoms, is that this is nothing new. So, 100 years ago, 1923, the city of Cincinnati wanted to do an ordinance to limit automobiles to a speed of 25 miles per hour with a speed governor, a mechanical speed governor. And this faced basically like the same opposition from the auto industry that she was talking about the auto industry doing today.
Right.
They put up this big campaign basically saying that it would build a Chinese wall around the city of Cincinnati and not let people from other cities come in, even though drivers would be welcome to those other cities. So this is nothing new.
Right. And actually, they, from the great Peter Norton book that these graphics come from, he talks about how the motoring interests actually put themselves together as motordom. Right, like that was like where that they were like, we need a name for ourselves. It's going to really help sell this. Let's call ourselves motordom. It's like let's pick something really evil sounding.
And I'm glad to see that the like anti-Chinese racist rhetoric has
Yes, that's
has
awesome.
also just been hanging around ever since.
Right, and I don't know if anyone's been to Cincinnati lately, but they did actually build a wall of freeways around like a pretty awesome urban core. So
So
did
we
it.
should talk about the elephant in the room. And Aaron, do you want to talk about congestion pricing a little bit? Because that really
I
is
do
your,
want to talk about congestion pricing, and thank you for the
Yeah.
thank you for the
Sorry, I'm a
patent,
little off on the slides, but-
the general patent background. Look, congestion pricing. I think we should just take a moment to enjoy it. Okay, like for 15 years we've had to be like good boys and girls and like do all the policy things and go to our local city council members and assembly members with a thank you for the spotlight with the little fact sheets saying like, look, you have 85% of your constituents get to work in Manhattan by transit. You have so few drivers. We did all that stuff, right? But now congestion pricing is about to happen, and I just feel like there's a certain amount that we should just revel in it. We should just enjoy it for a minute. We should just like appreciate we should just have some bloodlust, like look, like you want to drive from Long Island to Rockefeller Center to see the Christmas tree, pay the fee. You want to like go drive from Westchester and go to a Broadway show instead of taking the train, fine, pay the fee. Like you want to I don't know, go just pay. Like drivers are gonna have to pay. Okay, and so that's very enjoyable to me. It's like we spent 15 years hunting the bear, and then we finally killed it, and now we should like grab its heart and bite it. Blood run all over us. All right, so that's all I want to say. Thank you very much.
I mean, that would be great. That would be awesome if we could revel in
Can we
congestion
revel?
pricing. We can't because there are now more lawsuits against congestion pricing than there are drivers in the tri-state area at this point. So, the state of New Jersey has sued to stop congestion pricing. These are just a handful of the reasons why congestion pricing might kill Broadway, kill actual New Yorkers, screw over teachers in Staten Island. And my favorite, really, of these lawsuits, I don't know if you have seen this one, is one that's happening right in this neighborhood. That's the Lower East Side. They're saying it will create a traffic nightmare. Fewer cars will lead to cars, I don't know, make it make sense. And my favorite parts of this lawsuit, okay, so like it's going to increase pollution along the FDR Drive because you won't be charged if you stay out there. If you come into the city, you will. People who need to avoid mass transit due to COVID, okay.
Skip to point 5.
All right, let's go to the second to last one. That they're basically arguing that Albany failed to properly assess hardship for those who maintain homes both upstate and in the Lower East Side.
Who will think of the second homeowners?
My God.
With houses in Manhattan.
You're
and
going
the
to
Hudson Valley.
deny access, Aaron, to the Hudson Valley.
I know. That's
You
how-
monster.
That's-
Monster.
That's what we are.
I love this because I think it's like the veil is off. Like all of the concern about people with disabilities, people who need to drive, low-income people, etc., which we arguably have probably more sympathy than the people filing these lawsuits.
Yeah.
It's just they want to drive to their homes upstate or in the Hamptons or wherever.
Yeah.
Without paying that extra few dollars because they're too busy paying the property taxes on their second home, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
But before we move on, does anyone else have a lawsuit they want to add to the mix? Any
Yeah.
dentists from Bay Ridge, or I don't know, dog walkers from Queens, or
Okay.
no?
But
I guess.
what,
I think that's
what
it.
about funeral home owners? Have you heard this one?
Tell us about the funeral home.
This guy, Daniel Bezzetta, is the current owner of this funeral home that has been there since 1906. So before the Model T, has been there, and somehow during those years was able to, I don't know, deliver dead bodies to morgues and pick them up and that kind of stuff.
Right.
So he said, I can't use public transit. I can't put a dead body on a bus. Which I'm like, have you ever ridden a bus? You absolutely can.
By the way, have you ever been to a funeral in New York City? The worst part of it is like the traffic on your way to like Mount Hebron in Queens. I mean, it's like
There's nothing grieving families love more than like, am I going to make the funeral on time?
right. Congestion pricing will be great for funerals.
So I did look this up, and I thought, like, well, will a $15 fee just like be too onerous for grieving families, people in these just dire, terrible moments where they've lost a loved one? And the answer is no. I mean, so there literally is a website called Funeralocity, which is like the worst travel website you've ever seen. And they have by state and down to like the city level, the average cost of funerals, cremation, etc. And New York isn't really even an outlier in this regard. Funerals are pretty expensive, like $6,000 or so. We're like a little higher than a few other places, but not by much. I just doubt that you're like $8,842. Sorry, actually it's $8,000. I can't do math. It's $15 more. And you were like, no, we're gonna dump the body in the East River instead.
Yeah. Cremation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, you know, we're just gonna have to eat the bear heart after the lawsuits have been gotten through, though. But
I don't think the lawsuits can stop it. I mean, I think we won, but it is taking. It literally took 50 years to even get to this point.
I
Who
think
knows
you
if
just
it's
have to
worth it.
hope that whatever judge hears the New Jersey lawsuit didn't drive to work that day.
yeah.
That's
Sure
what I
they
think.
did.
Yeah, it's going to be a problem.
And they parked on the sidewalk outside. of the
Probably,
court.
yeah.
But no, I mean, honestly, it is one of these things where it's like, if the MTA just took all the money and just piled it up in Times Square and lit it on fire, it would still be like, even if all the policy points fail, it's still just like making drivers pay. Like the fact that we're doing that is like, it's just such a, I mean, the core concept of car culture is like, right? Like, it's like, I have my car, and therefore I get to do things for free, and everyone around me pays for it, right? Like individuals pay for it by getting run over. Towns and cities get paid for it by having traffic. The planet pays for it by, becoming a melted, burning hellscape. So like, just the fact that we're making the drivers pay is just so friggin' satisfying.
I feel like this June or July, when congestion pricing goes into effect, we're going to be seeing you like swinging by a rope from the cordons, like the toll readers, with your shirt off, just like screaming.
We're talking about retiring to the congestion pricing zone.
Hopefully it will
nice.
expand. Should we bring out our guests? We should bring out our guests.
We should.
All right. So you may know our guest from your daily commute, if you still make one. Since 2009, she has been the voice of the New York City subway. Also a veteran traffic reporter, transportation reporter, done traffic reports for WABC, 1010 Wins, hosts a bunch of podcasts. Bernie Wagenblast, welcome to the War on Cars.
Great to be here. Thank you.
That was Downtown Train by Rod Stewart, in case you didn't. Sorry. Yeah, I needed acknowledgement.
Just faded out as he got the Downtown Train.
Yes.
All right, so I want to start just real fast. We will obviously turn it over to you as much as possible. My wife is here. Many, many years ago, you guys remember the taxi announcements when they had like sports figures and music stars reminding you to buckle up your seatbelt? So my niece was here. She was 4 or 5 years old with my brother-in-law and sister-in-law. They're putting her into a taxi, and she hears, "Elmo says, buckle your seatbelt." And she like looked around, like Elmo's in the cab with me. And when we spoke via Zoom to set this up, that's how I felt.
I'm Elmo now.
As excited as a 4-year-old was, this transportation nerd is very excited to welcome you to the War on Cars. So Bernie, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
It.
Great to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really amazing to have you here. And I feel like you not only have this iconic place in the minds of New Yorkers, you're embedded in our consciousness because of the announcements, but also you have been covering transportation as a journalist for so long. And so you have like this incredible perspective on the issues that we cover. And you live in New Jersey, right?
Mm-hmm. So I'm suing.
Thank you.
I didn't want to ask.
How did you get here tonight?
New Jersey Transit and the subway.
But I guess like one thing that I did want to ask is, how has the sort of the transportation scene changed since you started reporting on it? Like, what do you see as some of the big shifts that have happened in the way New Yorkers view transportation?
I first started reporting traffic on the radio in 1979, so it was a much different world. First of all, the idea that there would even be a company to supply traffic information was kind of surprising, that there would be enough interest in that. And when we started, we only did it during rush hours. That was the only interest in traffic information, was Monday through Friday during drive time, like from 6 in the morning till 9 o'clock, and then back in the afternoon from 4 to 7. And now it became a 24-hour thing. When we were first starting out, we were using CB radios. So we had remote-controlled CB radios, like along the Gowanus Expressway, that we could get in contact with via a touch-tone phone and say, "Hey there, good buddy, how's the traffic looking on the Gowanus?" And they would think that we're another trucker or something like that. So that's one of the ways it's certainly changed. Obviously, transit has changed. When I first was doing traffic, the Metro North was not really running yet. It was still being run by Conrail, and the same thing in New Jersey. You still had the private railroads when I first started doing traffic, like the Erie Lackawanna and the Penn Central and things like that. So those are just there's so many changes. We could go here all night.
Yes, Bernie, one thing I think about is how the MTA has changed, since I've lived in New York since the early 90s, and we saw it improve a lot in a variety of ways, and also more recently it feels like it's fallen apart a little bit in a variety of ways. But one of the communications seem to be a bright spot lately. Like we have real-time train information and good announcements with your voice. And but I'm curious if you have any, having worked with them, do you have any insight into what the deal is with that organization? How can we make it better? Why does it suck in the ways that it sucks?
I am not an MTA employee. Let me say that up front.
Yeah, that's why I was ask.
I think, again, technology has allowed a lot of things that you couldn't have dreamed of when I began. Like I say, I started doing traffic reporting in 1979. I did it for about 5 years. And then I went off, actually worked briefly for New York City DOT in the mid-'80s when they were setting up their communications center in Long Island City. And then I went over to the Port Authority and worked for an organization which was, again, setting some new precedent called Transcom, which, first of all, maybe they knew something about me when I got a job there. It was called Transcom that I wasn't even aware of at the time, but that could have been something. But the the idea behind that was to try to get all these different agencies to share information. So we were trying to do good government, I think, in terms of getting them to cooperate. And you got to see how the different agencies operated. They, just like people, different agencies have different personalities. So that was one of the things that I think was very noticeable then.
It was very I noticed you did not really trash them, TA.
We didn't find out what those personalities were.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to admit to something, which is that as a native New Yorker, and I've lived here most of my life, and I'm 60 years old, and so I've lived here a long, long time. And when they said they wanted to change to the automated voices and the automated announcements, I really was very resistant to that. I thought that was gonna ruin everything. I was gonna ruin the whole vibe of the subway. It's like, in retrospect, it sounds so stupid, but I think that there is this persistent thing in New York that sort of, we can't have nice things. We can't have things that actually work, and announcements that are intelligible, and trains that run on a regular schedule without somehow losing our edge. And I just wanted to say that, like, I really am glad about the announcements that I can understand now. Like, I came to understand that, like, it's better to be able to understand the announcements. It's cooler, actually. So I just wanted to say, like, thank you and I'm glad that I had the time to process all of that.
You're not a real New Yorker unless you can understand what, like, the next is now riding on the.
I still think the 17-year-old Sarah would just be so bummed that 60-year-old Sarah is saying this.
I know. She would say,
she's so uncool now.
She's a sellout. She is. It's
Sold
true.
Sold out for the automated announcements.
For the big bucks of the war on cars.
So Bernie, you have been really open about sharing your personal story, and there was a big story in the Times about you coming out and everything. How has that? We'll get into a little bit about your voice, because that is how we all know you. Mm-hmm. But how has that changed your perspective of, like, walking through the city? We talk a lot on the podcast about the different experiences that people have depending on their background, their gender, everything, their identity. How has that changed your perspective of taking transit itself?
Well, I think it's certainly made me be more aware of my surroundings. I only transitioned socially a little over a year ago, January 1st of last year. And thank you. And the first time I came into the city on the NJ Transit train, I was very nervous, needless to say. I think almost anybody would be. Are people going to be pointing at me, laughing at me? Am I going to be in any danger when I come into the city? And I have had zero problems. One of the most surprising things, though, is because of a lot of the media coverage that I've had. Even though my voice is well known in New York from both the radio and the subway announcements, nobody knew what I looked like. But all these stories have photos in the paper, they've got video on TV, and it's been very strange as I go around the city, and sometime in the subway, people will come up to me and say, "Oh, excuse me, are you the subway announcer?" And if it looks like they're safe, I will say yes, and then they'll take a selfie with me.
That's awesome. That's great.
Well, I mean, you are so known for your voice, and as part of this transition process, your voice changes. Mm-hmm. So was that challenging for you? It's like you have this iconic voice, and now you're changing it. It's kind of a big deal.
That is one of the toughest things for especially an older trans woman to do, because even though I'm very familiar with my voice, obviously having used it professionally for so many years, you have to start using muscles in your throat that you were never aware of. Like, how do you raise your larynx? And that has taken a lot of practice to try to do that, and to change the resonance from my chest into my head so that it sounds more feminine than the old voice sounded like. But the other thing that will be surprising is I'm not ashamed or upset when I hear the old voice. That doesn't bother me. And in fact, if I am doing something, I will switch into that voice. The next downtown, number 2, will arrive in 2 minutes. Please stand away from the platform edge.
God, you still got it.
I'm telling you, that's why I felt like a 4-year-old with all that. I still feel that way right now. Yeah.
But with the voice, like the subway, there is a way in which it sounds like the first time I heard it on the train, I was like, oh, is that an automated voice? Is that because it sounds like sort of simultaneously kind of chipper and human and officious, but also sort of like maybe it could be computer generated. I don't know. Were you going for that? Were you trying?
No. Well, when I just did it, I was trying to imitate that. But the way the actual recordings were, I did about 1,000 recordings back in 2009 of things like uptown, downtown, 2, 3, first, second, all these different words, and the computer puts it together, and that's why it sounds so staccato, because the computer is taking each little recording and putting it together. So the only thing that I get to say in a full sentence is, please stand away from the platform edge. Everything else is just a little segment.
But it really sounds so much better than like truly mechanical voices, robot voices like they have in the BART in San Francisco, and I think they have it in Metro in DC, and that's really eerie. It does sound human and warm, and I'm not surprised that people, once they like identify you as a human being, that they have a warm feeling about you, because I think that's the thing about the subway, right, is that those of us who dare to ride it really like love it so much, and we recognize that it's what makes the city function. It really, in many ways, is the thing that makes New York New York, and so everything associated with it takes on this kind of shine, and you have that shine. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Yes.
I tried, it's hard to put much personality when you're just recording an individual word, but I've always tried to have a smile in my voice, because it's not just for the New Yorkers who take this every day and don't really need to know the information, but I'm thinking of the people who are visiting from another country who don't know English. Maybe they know Dutch, for example.
They all know.
Well, I was thinking of our guest from the Netherlands. That you want to be as understandable and as friendly as you can. And in addition to the subway, I also do the air train at Newark Airport. So that's another place where you have a chance to, again, you figure there's a lot of people who are there from around the world, and you want to be as friendly and as reassuring as you possibly can for something like that. And you talk about computers. I originally was the voice on the air train at JFK Airport, but I got replaced by a computer.
That's why it costs $100 to get off at Howard Beach or something. Right? Yeah.
I know what the Port Authority's personality is.
They don't deserve you, Bernie.
Well, I'm still at Newark Airport, so.
All right.
Do you know Julie from Amtrak, and can she be on the show next year? No,
I actually am friends with her on Facebook.
You are?
Yes.
I was just kidding. That's amazing. I actually thought she was automated forever.
No.
Yes.
Do all the transit voices know each other?
Hang out at a bar?
Actually, I know the guy that did a lot of the announcements for the T up in Boston. I don't know Metro. I'm very familiar with the person that does the voice on Patco, which runs between South Jersey and Philadelphia, because that's me. But I also have just connected with the voice of the Berlin subway, Metro, because I found out, I did not know this until recently, that she is also trans. So we have a little, very small community of 2 people.
You should start the most niche podcast ever.
No. This is a new Marvel franchise.
I think it's like a buddy film. It's like Thelma and Louise, but you're like on a train. You're on Eurorail, something like that.
I will say that actually, having recently taken the Berlin Metro, the S-Bahn, the U-Bahn, I felt somewhat comforted because as a Jewish person, being screamed at in German is probably not the best thing. But I actually was like, oh, that sounds like a really nice, pleasant voice to listen to. So that it's sort of, tell her I say hi.
I will do.
I mean, I guess I do want to say, in your capacity as somebody who lives in New Jersey, I mean...
Please don't hold it against me.
No, like... You know, I support you in that, but like, can they stop suing us? Like, how are we gonna get Phil Murphy on board with this? Like, if anyone can do it, maybe it's you.
I don't know that I have any great connections with the governor, but
but really,
I think we're gonna have to get rid of him.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it just I hope that there are more people in New Jersey who really get it. Like, this is good for people from New Jersey too, right? I mean, it could be really good for communities that already have a lot of traffic going through them. Maybe we'll get less. And also, if you really need to drive into New York, the whole point is that it'll be easier. Anyway, can you talk to the folks out there?
I will do my best.
Bernie, before we finish up, I thought we would, since the theme of tonight was like a talk show, we are going to have the top 10 New York City transportation announcements we, the War on Cars, would like to hear, as read by voice of the subway's Bernie Wagenblast. Bernie has not seen this list. I did promise her it wouldn't get her fired. So here you go. I'll read the numbers. You read, obviously.
But before we start, can we just have one subway door bing bong from the crowd?
Yeah. Bing bong.
Ready? No, 1, 2, 3.
Bing bong. All right, here we go. Number 10.
Please park clear of the curbside bike lane.
Okay. Number 9.
The next open city bike dock is 5 blocks away.
Number 8.
Attention motorists. Brooklyn-bound traffic is delayed due to Brooklyn-bound traffic.
Number 7.
Due to an earlier incident of disinvestment and car-brained politicians, trains are running with delays through the end of this century.
Number 6.
Attention MTA passengers. There's another train directly behind this one. Because, come on, what else did you expect directly behind a train that runs through tunnels on tracks? A boat?
Number 5.
Drivers, please refrain from honking. How'd you like it if I screamed inside your car? That would suck, right? Jerks. So, thank you for shutting the fuck up.
Number 4.
Due to motorist whining, the congestion pricing charge is now $75. Do I hear whining? Now it's $100.
Number 3.
Free parking is theft.
Number 2.
Hello, everyone. The New York City Department of Transportation would like to remind you that SUVs and other large vehicles are subject to random traffic delays that are in no way the fault of pedestrian plazas, bike lanes, outdoor dining structures, bus lanes, or other things that aren't giant metal boxes on wheels.
All right, and the number 1 transportation-related announcement we at the War on Cars would like to hear, as read by Bernie Wagenblast, is...
Cars ruin cities.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. So what? Thank you. That was awesome. Thank you. Yeah, and that's a great place to end the show. We want to thank Caveat, Cody in the booth.
Thank you.
Yeah. And all of you, and Bernie. Thank you so much.
And Charlie. Charlie Dektar.
Thank you.
Thanks
for coming out.
That is it for this special live episode of The War on Cars. Thanks to all of the listeners and our Patreon supporters who joined us at Caveat. A big thanks as well to Bernie Wagenblast. This show would have been nothing without her. We also want to thank comedian Charlie Dektar, as well as all the good people at Caveat for helping to make our show a success. A special shout out to Cleverhood. We actually gave away a Cleverhood War on Cars anorak during the live show, and that was a lot of fun. If you want one or any of Cleverhood's excellent rain capes and jackets, visit cleverhood.com/thewaroncars. Enter code PUDDLEJUMPER for 15% off now through the end of March. If you want advance tickets to future live events, as well as exclusive access to bonus content, ad-free regular episodes, merch discounts, free stickers, and more, become a Patreon supporter of the podcast. You can sign up today at patreon.com/thewaroncarspod. Thank you to our top Patreon supporters, Charlie G. of Human Powered Law in Portland, Oregon, Virginia Baker, Mark Headland, and the Parking Reform Network. This episode was recorded live at Caveat in New York City on January 31st, 2024. It was edited by Ali Lemer. Our theme music is by Nathaniel Goodyear. On behalf of my co-hosts Aaron Nappersteck and Sarah Goodyear, I'm Doug Gordon, and this is The War on Cars.
Cars ruin cities.